Did anyone ever say to you, don't get discouraged? Did your mom, did your dad, did a teacher tell you, don't get discouraged? I know I did, but I still get discouraged from time to time. And, right now, in the midst of everything we're going through, it's easy to get discouraged. I wanted to show you a cartoon. You know I love cartoons. This is from the Peanuts cartoons, Charlie Brown and Lucy. Lucy's discouraged. If you can see it there on your screen, you can see she's got her hands on her chin, her elbows on her knees, and she's just saying to Charlie, sometimes I get discouraged. Of course, he says, well, Lucy, life does have its ups and downs, but she's not having it. Lucy's saying, but why? Why should it? Why can't my life be all ups? If I want all ups, why can't I have them? Why can't I just move from one up to another up? Why can't I just go from an up to an upper up? I don't want any downs. I just want ups and ups and ups. Lucy yells. At which point, Charlie is walking off, and he's just like, I can't take it anymore. But I can remember, I used to be like Lucy. I wanted things to be up, and when things were down, if something was negative or painful or difficult, I wanted to run. I didn't want to be anywhere near anything difficult. I wanted life to be up. I wanted to feel good. And the only way to sustain that is to use a lot of drugs and alcohol, and even then, eventually, it comes crashing down. Life is full of ups and downs, and we're in a difficult time right now. And I know that when we talk about Thanksgiving, giving thanks, it's a lot easier to give thanks when things are good, when things are up, when it's a beautiful sky and a beautiful day, to say, oh, thank you for this beautiful day. When people are treating us well, to say thank you for what you've done. But to say thanks and offer gratitude when things are hard, challenging, difficult, scary, that's a whole different kind of time to be trying to give thanks. But I want to say today that it's those times when thanks has its real power. When we think about what we call the first Thanksgiving. Now, I know it's a story that's filled with myths, and it's a story that's been used to obscure a lot of history. But I want to talk about something real about that time, and that is that over half of the pilgrims who came, when they were men, women, and children, died in that first winter. They weren't prepared for it. Can you imagine? They buried half their wives, their mothers, their children. There was so much grief in that community in that first year. It's unbelievable. I feel myself tearing up just thinking about it. And then, of course, the Wampanoag, they had already been devastated by European colonists who'd come in and brought with them diseases, viruses from abroad that their systems were not used to, that caused a lot of death. The Wampanoag, interestingly enough, they greeted and welcomed the pilgrims because they had children and women, and they said, these are families, these are folks, this is not like a group that's coming, warring, coming to take things back. These are folks who are coming to live here. And sure enough, they were escaping religious persecution. And so, but you have these two communities that end up celebrating what has come to be known as the first Thanksgiving. And there was a celebration that included the two of them. And I was just learning, Karen Marsh, who is our intern, who we just heard from, she was telling me some of this history, which she has been reading about. And the Wampanoag heard gunshots and noise, and they didn't know what was going on. So a group of 90 warriors came running to where the pilgrims lived, and they found that they were actually playing games and celebrating the harvest. And they joined in. And it actually was a couple of days of festivities, and they brought food, and they brought the Wampanoag brought some deer, and I thought there might be some shellfish there because there they are on the ocean. And one thing that Karen told me was that one thing they probably had were eel, because the Wampanoag showed the Pilgrims how to stomp eel and catch eel. Since we are doing our Thanksgiving celebration differently this year, just my wife and my two children, we usually have 30 people or so, and my parents come in from out of state. But this year it's just the four of us, and since we love sushi, I think we're going to have some unagi, some eel. We're going to get some eel, and we're going to make some unagi sushi this year. Maybe it'll become a new tradition for Thanksgiving. A lot of us are trying to come up with ways to make this Thanksgiving fun, memorable, ways to make it meaningful, and ways to ward off some of the despair, the loneliness, and the fear. And so Thanksgiving, giving thanks, it's hard to imagine in some ways doing that at a time when it's scary to leave our homes. I mean, even to go grocery shopping, we're afraid we're going to bring a virus maybe back into our families, maybe catch it ourselves, maybe die because of it, or someone we love could die because of it. Some of our loved ones have died because of it and are sick because of it. It is a hard time to celebrate, and a lot of us are lonely, shut in, all by ourselves. I see Kathy Reed is on Zoom with us, and Kathy, I know you lost your mother this year, 93 years old, not of COVID, as I understand, but a lot of people have been losing loved ones too from COVID. But it's a different year, and there are a lot of empty chairs around the Thanksgiving tables this year. At least 250,000 empty chairs due to COVID here in the United States, not to mention how many all over the world. And then the others who are in the hospital and on respirators and the ICUs. We're sending our love to everybody. But this is not an easy year when people are afraid of losing jobs, or they've just lost jobs, or worried about our financial future. I mean, it just starts piling on. There's a lot of fear about what the future is going to look like. And then we've got the political divisions in our country and fear of our very democracy being destroyed in the midst of this election, this contentious election. And then we have families who are arguing and defriending each other and in fights over the political situation and neighbors. And of course, then there's all the racial issues that have come from not anything new, but the new consciousness about, as we're sitting at home watching the racial violence and inequality, and how the virus even is affecting people from Black communities, Native American communities, and others. So this is a hard time to give thanks. But here's what I want to say about thanks and giving thanks. Why don't we think about it like exercise, like a workout? You don't always feel like doing it, but when you do it, you always feel better afterward. It always feels better. I'm glad I did it. Well, sometimes we have to give thanks when we're not feeling it, knowing it will feel better, and we're building a muscle, if you will. Spiritual muscle, you could say, an emotional muscle, in the sense that the more we give gratitude, the more we practice gratitude, we begin to start seeing more the positive things, the hopeful things, the beautiful things in our lives. We start to rewire our brain's plasticity to begin to see more and focus more on things that are hopeful and good and positive and real in our lives. And so gratitude is like building a muscle. It's a little bit like working out, if you will. And science is even showing us, documenting how people who show gratitude and do gratitude practices, it reduces their stress and it lengthens their life and improves their health, lowers their blood pressure, and all kinds of other things. And here it is. It's free. It's available wherever we are, whenever we are. Doesn't have to take very long. Certainly doesn't hurt to give thanks. So I want to talk about two ways that are fairly simple, one of which is maybe something people do or have heard of before, which is before bed, thinking about, and it's actually recommended to write down 3 things that you're thankful for that day. I encourage you to consider that. I mean, what a way to go to bed after giving thanks, thinking of things that you appreciate right before going to bed. And writing them down is helpful. And imagine just having a list at the end of this whole pandemic of all these things that we were thankful for during that time, whether it's the people in your lives, the food you have, a roof over your head, these incredible essential workers and doctors and nurses and others who are allowing us to live the lives that we have in spite of everything, the doctors who are saving people's lives, and nurses who are caring people, holding their hands as they suffer, as they struggle, as they die, calling us on their phone so we can talk to our loved ones, even when they can't talk to us back. I mean, it is amazing. So just giving thanks for the things that we do have, not being sick or getting through the illness, whatever it is. But now, this other one is one I'd never heard about before this week. I never really thought about. And that is, it's called giving thanks, but through the idea of comparison. So it's thinking about a time in your life, the worst time in your life, or worst times in your life, remembering what that was like, and then in comparison realizing, this is difficult, this is hard, it's not that bad. And actually recognizing the ways in which it's different, and actually remembering how that difficult time did end, you got through that time, and even some of the positive things that have come since that time, or even from that experience. That is a really powerful antidote to some of the despair and depression that many of us are feeling right now. I was thinking about the worst time in my life, as you probably know if you know me very well, is about 14 years ago when my wife and I lost our child, our daughter, Sienna, who died. That was awful to live through. And yet, here I am now, 14 years later, and I look back and I go, this is bad, but it's not that bad. And I remember how awful that was, but I also remember how much love came into my life at that time, how my relationships with family and friends in this community of All Souls deepened through that and since that time. And so I'm reminded that we get through tough times, and I'm thankful and I'm grateful to you, to those who love me through that time, those who are loving me and with me through this time. And so I suggest that you try one or both of these techniques of finding gratitude even in difficult times, so that when this pandemic is over, may we not just look back at it and see it as a curse and see it as just an awful time that we lived through, but how about it also being a time when we woke up to start saving our planet, when we woke up to start caring more deeply about equality and making movements for social and racial justice and equality, and even economic equality and fairness and justice. This can be a very significant time, a time when we even deepened our own resilience and our own ability to appreciate the good things and the people around us. So let's look back when this is over, and it will be over. It will end. We remember there was a pandemic of 1918. It ended. And all the things that we've done and all the love and hugs and times we've had in church and out in the community and listening to music and playing in the parks, that's all happened since the pandemic, and it will happen again. But right now, we're in the midst of something. Let us move through this with gratitude, knowing that it is a healing balm. Gratitude is always there, easily accessible. It doesn't hurt. It's not painful. We always feel better when we do it. And it lifts our spirits and lengthens our life and brings joy to us and the people around us. I miss you. I hope you have a fantastic Thanksgiving and find ways to appreciate, even in the midst of all this, the beauty, the goodness, the health and the hope and the happiness that is all around you. We will get through this together. I love you. Thank you for joining us. For 100 years, All Souls in Tulsa has been a beacon of this free faith. We offer our services and programs freely online for all those who are interested. You can help us to do this by making a one-time gift today or a reoccurring pledge. We really appreciate you joining us and being a part of helping us make All Souls in Tulsa what it is. Thank you.